3, 2, 1. Welcome in to another episode of Yeah Nah Hell Yeah, monthly review of the latest releases, mostly in the metal space. We branch out. We actually do a lot of rap these days. I guess that's just how my life's going. But it is the first Tuesday of the month. It is the first Tuesday of September 2025. Which means we've got to look back at August 2025 and have a look-see at what was hot and what was not. What made me go, hell yeah, and what made me go, nah, not for me. Yeah. If you're watching this on the recorded YouTubes, you can't hear the audio. If you're watching this live, you can hear the audio, and you know that there's deathcore playing. I mean, if you're watching the screen, you'd also know we're talking about deathcore, because you'd see now that we're talking about To The Grave! And if you've seen me before, I haven't been kind to deathcore. But I do find it easy to be kind to The Grave. So, Australian deathcore band with their EP Still, getting in nice and early on August 1st. I think To The Grave are the most interesting deathcore band in Australia. And I don't think there's many interesting deathcore bands in Australia. But in that small pocket that are still doing something cool and unique with the genre, To The Grave are at the tippy top. I think they could be the next big thing if they play their cards right. And I think this EP is them playing their cards right. It's really in a genre that is so lacking in fresh sounds. I find this one to have a lot of freshness in it, a lot of toes in other genres. They know when to slow down, when to throw in some groove into the bass, use some adjacent genre elements, hardcore riffs and breakdowns, as opposed to like your typical much heavier and I guess much more boring deathcore breakdowns. I also really love the theme, and I love a gimmick that's lived in. I've waxed lyrical about bands like Wolfpack before, who, you know, it's a gimmick, but it's also their life, and they put themselves behind it, and To The Grave really put themselves behind this, very aggressive veganism stance that to all I know, they uphold in real life. The EP itself, 7 tracks, which is a lot for an EP, but 21 minutes, which means you got a lot of really short, punchy songs. You got this cool two-step stuff. It's almost closer to like a Malevolent style hardcore, but you couldn't call it that. You'd have to call it deathcore still. And yeah, I think what makes it stand out is any other Australian deathcore band would have taken 7 tracks, puffed them up to, 4 or 5 minutes apiece, make this an album, and each one of those songs would drag on too long and just be a painful listen. It'd be like, oh wow, cool, another big breakdown that does the exact same thing that every other big breakdown in the scene is doing. Whereas, these guys have a lot more nuance in pacing, and yeah, their heaviness. I've repeated myself here a few times, I reckon, but it is really a game of contrasts, and you can only really be that heaviest band that has all heavy with no breaks once. Once someone's done that, and someone's done that at a top level that everyone's aware of, you can't recreate that magic, you can't capture that lightning again. And frankly, like, in the current state of the scene, I'd say there's only one Warner Shore. Warner Shore are probably that band right now. So if you're walking in their shadow, you are never getting out of it. Whereas To The Grave are really branching out from that. The only thing I didn't like about this is the album art, which is right there. It looks like one of those pictures that like are meant to simulate having a stroke, and maybe that's what they're going for, but not quite, because those you're not meant to be able to recognize everything. And here I can recognize a lot of things you know, there's animal parts, there's blood, there's implements of cutting and smashing. I think I see a little piglet or something there. And then you've got this scene that's got like cattle cages, and at the end it's got a cross. It's, you know, religion. That's the real cattle, opiate of the people. It is really just played out analogies. It's the least creative thing of the entire thing. I see that, I'm like, wow, cool, yep. I would have done that when I was 14. Other than that, really solid EP. And To the Grave are like one of the few things that just keep me holding on to Australian deathcore, and make me not give up on it at all. So, kicking off the month well. To the Grave, they get a hell yeah. Speaking of hell yeahs, I see Rodriguez in chat. Bonjour, mon ami. How are you? How is your family? And we're going to move through to, like I said, we're going to have a bit of rap and hip-hop, we always do. Hilltop Hoods. Speaking of people that are at the top of their genre for Australia, and boy howdy, is it a very full and competitive genre this year. We got new music coming out from Hilltop Hoods, Bliss and Esso, 360, Seth Century. Briggs is doing a new band that's like new metal. It's escaping me. Big Noda is what it's called. Like I said, all the big names are very active in 2025. So, if you're a hip-hop fan, Australian hip-hop fan, you are eating well. But it also means that if you're an Australian hip-hop artist, you gotta be bringing your A grade. And look, I think Hilltop Hoods bought their B game. It's not B for bad, but they've definitely put out better. It's kind of just, yeah, their baseline quality is high. So when I say it's the average Hilltop Hoods album, that doesn't mean it's bad, because their average is like an 80%, you know, 4-star effort. It's got fun beats. It's got relatable songs. They sing about how much they love their family. They sing about how the modern world is very fatiguing. They do songs about social media and how the whole world can see you live out your lives, and that's not a good thing for our mental state. And that is not new ground. That is old hat. They don't do it poorly, but they don't bring anything new to the conversation. So, it's a very inoffensive release. And it's funny that, like, a very plain Hilltop Hoods album then gets blown away by something like 360, who, you know, it might not be his best work either, but at least he's got an interesting selling point. It's his big return, and he's returning under, like, kind of weird circumstances. So, it's a good spin. I wouldn't recommend it if you're trying to get into Australian hip-hop, or if you're trying to get into Hilltop Hoods. You might have seen them in our Australian Top 100 a few weeks ago. But if you're a fan, you're probably going to enjoy this and come out of it with at least a few songs that make you go, yeah, that was pretty cool. So it gets a hell yeah. It's a soft hell yeah, but it's a hell yeah. Maybe I've been a bit gentle on it, but yeah, it really didn't rub me up the wrong way. It just kind of didn't rub me at all. So, I don't know. Rub me better next time, Hilltop. Now, this one, Babymetal, had a weight of expectation behind it. Rodriguez says, what about Taylor Swift or Nickelback? I don't think either of them have dropped new albums. At least not this month. I didn't do Taylor Swift. Because she put out an album this year, didn't she? Is she on Spotify? Oh, it comes out in 30 days. Rodriguez, I promise you... Oh, God. I'm saying this on recording. I will include Life of a Showgirl. Wait, she's not putting out another fucking, like, 3-hour album, is she? It's 12 tracks. It's probably going to be fun. I will do Taylor Swift's The Life of a Showgirl in my October review. That's a promise. Anyway, what was I doing? Babymetal. Speaking of pop bands, ooh, Babymetal from Japan with their album Metal Fourth. Is it their fourth album? If they call their fourth album Metal Fourth, I'm gonna be... I don't know how I'm gonna feel. Am I gonna be happy about that, or am I gonna be mad about that? I think now I'm gonna be mad if it's not their fourth album. I feel like I've been misled. Whee! Ha! It's their fifth album. Wait, are any of these technically EPs? It is... Yeah, it's their fifth album. Metal Fourth is their fifth album. Ludicrous. Ridiculous, even. Anyway. Japan's... And this isn't my word, I had to look this up. And I don't know, I feel a bit dirty saying it. Kawaii metal is apparently the genre. And now I understand how people feel about, like, when Halestorm came on scene and everyone called it pirate metal. And everyone's like, ah, really? Is that our newest genre? Pirate metal? And now I'm like, ah, kawaii metal? Really? It's gonna be like Babymetal and like Ladybeard, and that's about all. Anyway. Straight up, I was really confused about this, because this is something that I haven't seen before. Both Slaughter to Prevail and Babymetal put their collab song on both their albums. And I don't think I've seen that before. If someone can call me out in the chat or in the comments, wherever you're seeing this, and let me know if you've seen a collaboration that ends up on both artists' releases that year. I would love to just have that as a point of reference. I was talking to Luke, he reckons it might be more of a pop thing, that maybe pop bands do that, but even then, I just can't, I don't have a lot of pop knowledge. So yeah, sound off if you can think of a collaboration song that ended up on both artists' albums. Speaking of collaborations though, good lord, there are so many collaborations. On a 10-track album, 3 tracks are just Babymetal. So, 70% of this album is collaborations. We got Poppy, Electric Callboy, Slaughter to Prevail, Bloodywood, Polyphia, Spirit Box, and Tom Morello. They're all big names, like, they're not a bad choice. But I guess when I listen to the whole album, I don't feel like I'm listening to a Babymetal album. I feel like I'm listening to a collaboration... what's the word I'm looking for? A compilation of collaborations. It almost seems like something you do much later in your career, where you're like, oh, you know, we gotta put out our best of and our greatest, and we'll do a CD of all our collaborations together to milk those last few dollars out of our fans before we do our 3 retirement tours. To do it at this point, just, yeah, feels bizarre. And I think it just loses a lot of their character in the album. So, like, when I think Babymetal, I don't like, oh, I'm going to put on Metal Fourth, because, yeah, they almost seem like the feature in all their songs. It feels like I'm listening to a Poppy song with Babymetal, and then an Electric Callboy song with Babymetal, and then a Slaughter to Prevail song with Babymetal. They don't seem like the main event on any of their collaborations. So, as a whole, this album feels very, like, thin and scattered. It's listenable, but yeah, it's missing identity. I originally gave this a hell yeah, and then because it came out early in the month, I realized as I was compiling everything yesterday for the presentation, I hadn't gone back to this at all, and I could not remember anything except for like Ratatatata, because that came out heaps and I saw it live. Yeah, everything else was kind of a bit forgettable. Forgettable to bad. Like, I didn't like the Slaughter to Prevail song. I didn't care much for the Bloodywood song. I think their gimmicks kind of played out. Polyphia's kind of a nothing. Yeah. It's a bit upsetting. So, obviously, it gets a yeah no. It's the first yeah no of the month. Sorry, Babymetal. I hope their next album is more of them and less other people. Moving into, I guess, what you could call a collaboration, because it's a supergroup, in words, Sinsaenum with In Devastation. I was shocked to see this. I don't know who in the world was like, yeah, we need more Sinsaenum. In my scope, and feel free to chime in if you have other opinions on this, but in my mindset, this is the worst metal supergroup. It's made up of people from, I want to say, Dragon Force, Chimera, Mayhem. It's a bit of a mishmash. Even then, you look at that on paper and you're like, oh, I don't know if that's gonna work. But you can say the same thing about like Kill or Be Killed, and Kill or Be Killed works. But yeah, it's such a like nothing metal album. It's well produced because obviously these people have good contacts. God, I forgot to put it on. I think I don't want to put it on, so let me just change the music. Apologies to those watching the VOD who don't get to hear the music. Yeah. It's forgettable. It does nothing. It goes nowhere. It's a little bit like Devil Drivery in that kind of vein of melodeath. Bordering on like new wave American heavy metal. It's fucking long at 45 minutes and 10 tracks. Like, it's bad enough the music is boring, but the average song length is 4.5 minutes. That's just gross. Yeah. I saw these guys live once. They were at Max Watts, which I believe is like 1,000 capacity venue, and they pulled less than 50. And I think that was purely the opening bands, Requiem and Scaffus, who sold those tickets. And Joey Jordison, who was drumming at them. Every drummer in the scene was there to shake hands and get a signature from Joey Jordison. And sure enough, he did that. After the show, he was out the front, he was shaking hands, and signing snare drums. And every drummer I know who met him said he was the loveliest guy, and like talks about that interaction really positively. But no one else has a good word to say about that gig. It was a stinker, and this album is equally a stinker. It's a yeah nah from me, boss. Welcome in, Tora the Hunter. You were disappointed in it too? The two before were decent. Yeah, they didn't knock my socks off, and they didn't feel like more than the sum of their parts. But they're definitely on a downward decline, and I don't know why they bothered coming back together for a third. I don't know, I guess Attila from Mayhem needs more money for crack. Allegedly. Moving on. Blackbraid! Speaking of controversial black metal, Blackbraid is really fucking cool as a concept. It's a one-man band coming out of America. From an indigenous American guy, purely rooted in, influenced by, and you know, all the lyrics and lore come from indigenous American culture and history and myth. And I just can't think of anything else like that in the scene, especially to the degree that it's reached an international stage like Blackbraid has. So this is their third album, obviously, called Blackbraid 3. It has this slight folky element, but you wouldn't call it folk, you know, comparing to other folk black metal bands, you wouldn't put it alongside something like Falconback. You'd say it's just kind of a light peppering throughout the sound. But the sound is really high quality. It's got that, I guess, like, we've kind of reached a mastered, perfected balance in black metal now of, like, polish and filth. You listen to bands like Behemoth and Wu-Tang on some of their albums, and yeah, they've really hit the sweet point of it still sounds like black metal, still kind of sounds like noisy and hashy, filthy, gritty, but it's also listenable. It doesn't sound like it was recorded on a Nokia phone in a tin can on a hot day from 12 meters away. I've mentioned a few names you could compare it to as well in terms of that kind of like more melodic modern black metal, like your Behemoths, like your Wattains. If you're into that, you're probably going to enjoy Blackbraid. It's got some hooks in there. It could do with some more, but the songs are dynamic, they're interesting, even when they go long, like, and He Became the Burning Stars runs at 9:50, it's still interesting at no point, and God knows, when a song gets boring, like the 2-minute mark, I turn it off, I skip next track. I didn't do that even on the longest songs here. They all stay fresh, they stay interesting, even if they're not hooky, even if they're not cementing themselves in my brain. They're also not washing over it or slipping off the side of it. They're sticking. So, Blackbraid 3. For the fans of black metal, and for the, like, I know there's a lot of more casual fans of black metal, especially my fan base. Ethan, I'll say if you're watching this, you're streaming right now. Sonic September. Yeah, if you're the type where, like, you only like to enjoy a bit of black metal when it's well produced and it's interesting and it has something to say, check out Blackbraid 3. And if you're a black metal fan, I don't have to tell you about them. You probably heard about them when they got kicked out of that festival for being way too drunk. But, you know, gotta have a bit of controversy, baby. That's how you sell your name in black metal. It's a hell yeah from me. That is the least controversial thing you could do in black metal. Let's be real. Ah, and yeah, the album art, that beautiful stag, the blues and purples of it. Sitch Wizardry, welcome in. Shaven Ewok, welcome in. Nerd World Problems, welcome in. If you're doing short reviews, does that mean Cradle of Filth released something? Yeah, they released 2 members. Heyo! That's as funny as the stream gets. If you expect more zingers, like, fuck off right now. No, I'm kidding. Stick around. Stay a while. Listen. Moving forward into what was probably my biggest surprise. And this surprise started, not even at this album, it started at the beginning of the End show, or whatever that Ozzy Osbourne show before his passing was called, where Halestorm put on a ripper performance. And I've always been like, one toe in the pool on Halestorm. Every now and then I'll hear something, I'm like, ooh, yeah. And then I listen to a whole, like, 3 songs by them, and I'm like, no, never mind. I'm out of it again. You know, like, I first heard them with Love Bites, So Do I, and I'm like, yes, this song slaps. Their Bad Romance cover, kinda good. But then a lot of other things, I'm just like, it's kinda boring, it's a bit butt-rocky. Their big selling point is probably having a super strong female vocalist, and if she's not delivering, then the rest kind of fails as well. So, this though, importance of a good opener. This starts off really hard, and that makes you go, oh? Especially when it's a band I'm on the edge about. To start off strong, already has me on your side. I'm like, oh, alright, cool, maybe Hellstorm have got it now. And yes, but also no. As you can see over in there, these songs do all run long. They all run about 30 seconds more than they need to. There's at least one verse or one, like, solo or anything that could be cut off each track just to make it punchier, more impactful, make it more say around. Like, every song has something good about it, and every song runs too long. If you resolve the problem, then keep the good part, suddenly you've got an album where every song is good, and you enjoy it. But it does what Halestorm does right. Big hard rock riffs, power chords, super strong vocals backing it up. I like some of the shit they've left in the past on this album. Like, before they did the lowercase song title, I get it, you Bring Me the Horizon made it cool. And they tried it, they realized it's not cool, and they've gone back to normal song titles on this. Because that's not a gimmick they need. They just need good songs. And they have them in spades. my only gripe with any one song that, like, turns my face, like, when a song runs too long, I don't really like, grimace and go, ooh, stinky. I'm just like, looking at my watch. How long is left? 30 seconds. I guess I won't skip the track with 30 seconds left. We'll let it play out. But every time I listen to, I've written Rain Your Blood. That is surely not the song name. Rain Your Blood on Me. I can only hear Iron Hand by Grand Magus. And these two play in the same pool. So, look, I always give plagiarism the benefit of the doubt unless it's the most egregious shit ever. Like, Slaughter to Prevail's last month, egregious. No way that was anything but them thinking of Slipknot. There's only so many ways you can, like, put together a few big fat rock riffs. So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say, you know, it wasn't intentional, but I do think Grand Magus is the better band. I do think Iron Hand is the better song. So every time I hear Rain Your Blood on Me, I kind of pause the album like, I'm gonna go put on a bit of Grand Magus for a little bit. Yeah, swings and roundabouts. But overall, for a band that I'm kind of like, overall, yeah, nah on, this album, at the end, yeah. Hell yeah. Also, cool art. That, like, face up in the clouds there, that kind of reminds me of, like, Venom's black metal. And that's something close to my heart. You know, you got your little Leonardo DiCaprio floating in the ocean there. And a cool icy stairway. It's a little bit what the hell's going on, but all the elements are cool enough. So yeah, nah. You just like it for side boob. Guilty, Your Honor. Moving on! Good Charlotte. Motel do crap! No one else in music media make that joke. That's my joke. They almost got me at the start of this album, because I'm like, oh, this is just kind of like pop punky. You know, you forget they're like massive sellouts and shit if they're putting out stuff like this. And Dan, I'm trying to remember where it was. I think it's about track 5, which is the one with Wiz Khalifa. It just steers straight back into that, like, moving into pop rock. It just becomes limp, pointless. They've got nothing of value to say and haven't in so long. I've written there, limp and pointless with no original elements, just like a slice of Devon, but nowhere near as good as Devon. And then I've given an up for Devon. Devon is probably one of my favorite sandwich meats. I think I was so bored of this album, I started thinking of sandwich meats instead. Also, in the past edition, I gave Dropkick Murphys a bit of crap for LARPing as working class when they're selling, you know, $160 tickets to their shows and selling out stadiums at that price. So they're not really as working class as they claim. Good Charlotte singing songs about needing to sleep in their car? Fuck off. Fuck right off, cunt. Alright? You sleep in a fucking mansion. Shut the fuck up. Piss off. That's not even a yeah, no. Like, go to the fucking Shadow Realm. Just garbage. Anyway, fuck you, Good Charlotte. Now I'm all riled up. I need something to ease me out. Something a bit cute, something a bit Moe. And that is pronounced Moe Shop, if you're not familiar with Japanese culture. It is not Moe, as in The Simpsons. But this is Evo Evo by Moe Shop, who is one of my, I gotta think about this, yeah, probably one of my favorite, like, dance music, EDM producers. However, in the past, and how I came into them, they had this very, like, Moe, literally. Moe means like kind of cute, I guess is a simple way of putting it in Japan. Similar to kawaii. And it had that really Moe, that really kawaii sound to it. A lot of like anime samples. It was very upbeat, slice of lifey. It's hard to describe if you don't have a reference point in anime. And I feel like they've really moved away from it with this EP. It's still really good, but it's just more kind of like rooted in, I guess, a more traditional EDM. I've compared it to Daft Punk there, which I feel like is, you know, saying, oh, it's metal and it sounds like Black Sabbath Metallica. Like, it's kind of a nothing statement. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it doesn't feel in its roots of being very unique like it used to. And they've done well at branching out, but they've also alienated me as a fan of their niche that they used to play in. And because of that, I don't really see myself going back to this album. Like, if I wanted something, this sound of beat, this kind of tempo, I would probably go listen to Daft Punk, because I'm a casual in the scene, so I don't need a deep pull, whereas people who are more into it will probably hear this and be like, yeah, this is a really good album and EP, and is bringing something new to me. So yeah, for what I wanted out of this, I didn't get it. I wish it was more kawaii. Where is the Moe in my Moe Shop? And this makes me feel dirty, because it is so good, and it's an artist that is, you know, beloved to me. And they've done nothing wrong. In fact, it's very nice, but it's just not what I wanted out of it. And, you know, music is subjective. This is subjective listings. So subjectively it's a yeah, nah. Objectively it's probably a hell yeah. And to put it next to Good Charlotte makes me feel like a bad man. But hopefully I can, you know, hopefully it doesn't have to be in a sandwich of bad artists. Hopefully the next one isn't some absolute stinker that Moe Shop has to sit between it and Good Charlotte, because that would make me feel like a terrible human being. Fuck! Now you see why I felt like such a bad guy putting Moe Shop in the ENR pile between Good Charlotte and Insane Clown Posse. I don't even know how this like landed in my newsfeed. I do not follow this band. I think I just saw like something on Reddit or something be like, oh, Insane Clown Posse kind of like surprise dropped an album. And I'm like, oh man, it's, you know, when you see something that you think smells bad, you gotta give it a whiff. And it is stinky. I'm not gonna get far into it. This album sucks. I had zero fun with it. But there is one line that I just had to record here, because fuck me. I listened to this one line over and over again. And that is, our shit is family-friendly fun if you're family killers. 5 juggalos versus 25 live gorillas. And you're gonna have 25 dead gorillas soon. I love gorillas, but we had to seal they furry doom. If that ain't lyric of the year, I don't know what else is. Everything else was painful. But at least that was worth a second sniff. And it was still stinky. Oh, yeah. Nah. Still makes me laugh. That is actually still funny. 25 dead gorillas, baby. Moving on to something a bit more niche. Dead Penitence, who are a band I can't spell in Spotify, apparently. No, they are a one-man project. They're Australian, and I want to say... Good lord, I cannot pull them up. P-E-N-T... No, P-E-N-I-T. That's where I was getting it wrong. I believe they're from Perth or somewhere on the west coast. They're not from our side, that's for sure. One band, death metal band, from somewhere not East Coast Australia. And I've liked a lot of their previous material. Kind of going back to Alter Side. They're a small artist. I think they've only done EPs. I don't think they've got a full album under their belt yet. Just in the very early days. This is a stylistic departure from their normal sound, though. It's very atmospheric. It introduces a synth element that they've never had before. It's borderline atmospheric black metal. I can't think of many atmospheric death metal bands, but it's something that I would probably steer away from if you did show me one, which is probably why I don't know one. And I know there would be people who enjoy that. I guess if you're really into like Portal and Gaira and like Plebeian Grandstand, and you want that at a grassroots independent level, you'd be like, yeah, this is the coolest shit ever. But for someone with a much more basic taste in death metal and really not enjoying a lot of the niches of death metal, especially the obscure niches like this, yeah, I just can't get a grip on it. I can't engage with it. So, for me, I hope this was a one-off. I hope they go back to a more traditional death metal sound, a bit higher production, rather than this very ambient sounding, washed out, low production value. It's a yeah, nah from me. But hey, look at those four-wheel drives out in the bush. I like four-wheel driving. I don't care for atmospheric death metal. But, like I said, I've got normie taste in death metal. It just has to be meat and potatoes for me. And this is the whole damn ranch and the whole damn potato field piled on top of me, crushing me to death. This is Colossal by Baest. Or Baest. It's a foreign word. They're from Denmark. Ugh, the Dutch. But they've put out a absolutely ferocious slab of death metal, filled to the brim with influences. I've written there, I'm listening to it, and I'm like, oh, that's a bit Lamb of God, that's a bit kind of Melodeath Amon Amarth style, gets a bit black in there with kind of a bit of a mortal riff, and that was just the first song, and it just keeps going like that. And boy, are they riff-centric and really riff-smart. They could just write a riff that they know will carry a whole song. And once again, knowing when to cut a song off. They're a bit longer, where you're looking like just a bit over 4 minutes per song, but they don't drag on. I wouldn't cut anything from it. Because they are really good at being like, yep, this riff is good. This riff can be the backbone of this whole song, and it sounds good for 4 minutes once you include choruses and breakdowns and solos. But the most important thing they do is, for people like me, who aren't in here for nuance, they are high energy the entire way through. And that doesn't mean high intensity, it doesn't mean going 110% from start to finish, which just leaves you with a bland mess because it never showed any restraint, but they do keep the beat going. They don't slow down, they don't drag out. That's the important thing. So yeah, it's good metal. I think even if you're not into death metal, if you're just kind of vaguely, if the heaviest thing you listen to is an entry-level extreme metal band, like Amon Amarth, like Lamb of God, like Immortal, like Devil Driver, this is probably a really good album to jump into. I think you'll be really comfortable in it, while also being able to be like, cool, this is my first step, you know, my second foot in the pool. I've got one toe in, now I'm going to put 2 feet in the pool. And I think it's really accessible to really anyone. So, especially for me, like, this isn't something I'll go looking for, this is something a friend sent to me, shout out Connor, love you babe. He's like, check out Baest, and I listened to it, I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. So naturally, gets a hell yeah from me. Really cool album. Highly recommend anyone and everyone, if you're into metal, checking out that album. I was going to say moving forward, but moving into our own backyard, we have Melbourne punk rockers, Munted Chunts. Always a fun name to say. With their debut album, Hard Rubbish. God, I miss Hard Rubbish. My neighborhood doesn't do hard rubbish. It's one of those like, oh, you just put it out and then you book it. There's not a day where everyone goes and puts all their garbage on the street and you get to go pick through the neighbor's stuff. And I miss that. That is the worst part about where I live. Bring back Hard Rubbish Day. But, like I said, from our very own backyard, and boy does it sound it. It is a extremely ochre sounding. If you're not sure what ochre means, it is that Australian drawl. You will not listen to this and be like, is this SoCal skate punk? You are, yep. This came from Australia. This came from Victoria, even. Straight off the bat, though, it's got a 2-minute intro. Put it in the bin. Whoever was in the band and around the band and heard this before it got released and didn't say ditch the intro, they're a bad friend. Because the first actual song, Pub Gig, has a really good opener and a really good startup. And then you've got this intro before it, which it doesn't really flow well into the intro of Pub Gig either. Like, it's nothing. It's 2 minutes of wasted space that doesn't really help the album in any way. Especially for a debut. I think if you're trying to sell a debut album, you're like, here's our sound you want to put in, and you want to hear what you're about straight up. Just my take. But, like I said, once you get into the actual songs, very enjoyable. Very, very Australian. A lot of the lyrical content you'll understand if you've got a history of being a barfly down at your TAB or anything like that. Which, hey, maybe that isn't... I was gonna say, maybe that isn't the greatest for, like, an international market, but then you look at bands like the Chats, who are getting global exposure through shit like Pub Feed and Smoko. I think we're in an age where Australiana is internationally marketable, so there's no reason not to do something like this if this is what you're able to do, and they're able to do it well. The album's really well paced. Once again, I'm talking knowing when to pull back just enough to make sure you can, like, get to that next level when you need to. It is a punk album. It's fast. It's high BPM. But every now and then there'll be a little bit of pullback, and then bang, a go forward that makes you, it's like when you slam down the accelerator in the car. Even though your car's going fast, you always want to feel that little bit of whoa. And they've got that. They've got that throwback in your chair speed to them when they need to. 34 minutes, 32 if you skip the intro like I do. It goes by very fast, and straight away, I've written there, it's a second blind album. The moment that 30 minutes is over, I'm back in. I'm putting it on again. It is real like, oh, that was good. Let's do it again. And I think that's a real good mark for an album. That's how you, you stay in the playlist. It's kind of progressed enough that the first song doesn't feel like I'm just continuing the album. It feels like I'm repeating a cycle more. It's going back to a point where it didn't start at. And it's rewarding to listen to. It kind of gets better as it goes along, honestly. The transition, talking about the intro into the first song, those first two tracks not transitioning well. The last two tracks transition beautifully. It kind of just really, carries you gently out of the album. When you get to, Stop Taking My Lighter, and then that goes into Hard Rubbish, and by the time Hard Rubbish ends, you're like, whoa, that was the end? That was grouse. Let's go back to Pub Gig. I also like, and I think this is a first for me, a lot of punk bands, and it seems to be a very punk thing, I can't really think of it happening in other genres, having a song about a mate, a scene legend. You know, Dropkick Murphys had that one about one of the guys from Pennywise, I think it was, on their latest album. And that was one of my favourite songs. These guys have... what's it called? Cunts Fucked, very nice, about a Melbourne scene legend called Julian. And this is the first time I've heard one of those songs and be like, oh, I know who they're singing about. I know Julian. Julian's great. Yeah, this song is about him. And they're right. So I think it's really cute. All those times I hear those punk songs about, you know, a particular legend in their scene, I can finally listen to one and be like, I know that guy! I know him! And yeah, they kind of pop me a little bit. So, Munted Chunts, Australian punk, Australiana, thick, drenched, I love it. You know, I was raised on things like the 12th Man, and bands like Red Gum, even Midnight Oil. So when I hear that kind of thick Australian drawl that a lot of punk bands try to sound like American punk bands. When I hear someone come along, you know, like the Chats, like Friends of Rom, like Munted Chunts, who are like, yeah, we're fucking Australian, cunt. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. So obviously, it's a hell yeah from me. And it's a debut album in their local to the city. So if you're local to Melbourne as well, go check it out. Go support the guys. I sadly missed their album launch. I was unwell. I gave my tickets to lovely scene legends Jack and Dag in my place. And all the footage I saw looked really cool. And the t-shirt looks really cool where it says World Tour. And it's literally just got one Melbourne date on the back. Great bit. Yeah, hell yeah to Munted Chunts. Go check them out, please. Moving forward to something that just kind of organically came into my newsfeed. Not a band I follow, not a band I've ever heard about, still in our beautiful shores of Australia, but, once again, the other coast. This is a debut from Perth doom metal band Guild, with their album Rain. And straight away, this is, again, like, this just comes up in your newsfeed. That album art immediately sells me. I had no idea what this was. I'd never heard of this band before. But I saw that album art, and my good lord, it's just like double skulled planet with rings and space. It's really like gross colors. You can kind of see there's like one face on the left, and then behind it there's like a second skull. Bottom right actually, there's like a third skull popping out of it. The more I look, the more skulls I see. And that's just cool art. So, A+ for the art, it captured my attention, it made me go, alright, I'll check it out, I'll see what it's about. And what it's about is fat riffs, as all doom metal should be about. It's not the most exciting doom metal album of all time, in a genre that's made up of albums that aren't the most exciting doom metal albums. It does have this, yeah, like really cool, mystical female vocal, but especially in the first half, it's kind of weak, doesn't cut through, it's not very clear. I think the intent of the style, it's kind of like Jucifer maybe, but the execution is not what Jucifer are doing. But it could be. It gets there at points, it just doesn't maintain it throughout the whole album. But from about Aries, which is track 6 on an 11-track album, it really picks up and it kind of holds that momentum for the rest of the album. There seems to be a narrative in it, but like an album like this where you can't really hear the vocals, it needs a lot of listens to get a grip on the narrative. But I just hear throughout songs the same like themes being touched on again, and names and characters being touched on again. So like, there's enough there on the first listen to be like, oh shit, I think there's something more in this. And you know, it's the type of thing where a physical edition where a lyric book might actually help a lot. I don't know if they're selling physical editions. If it sounds like your thing, check it out. So yeah, big riff sandwich. It's one of the doom metal albums of all time. Certainly nothing that's gonna set the world on fire. Really cool art. It's a hell yeah from me. It's definitely like, it's put Guild on my radar. I'm like, alright, cool. I want to see what they do moving forward. I probably want a t-shirt with that artwork on it. That's really cool. And I probably want to listen to this a few more times, see if I can pick up the story. A little bit of the story sounds like kind of just doom metal, you know, everything's themed around weed. And I hope that isn't the case. Even track 2 is literally called Resin. So I hope it's just not a story about, like, the Weed King in the Resin Kingdom. That will let me down a bit. So, don't let me down. Don't let me down, Guild. But, it's a hell yeah from me. Really cool to have a new band just organically hit your radar like that. In a world full of algorithms really trying to steer you. You can fight against it and be like, no! I don't want whatever the latest paid album is that someone put money into making sure it hit my newsfeed. I want the cool Skull Planet album, and you can't make me choose otherwise. Anyway, moving on from that insane thought, we have a very latecomer, Helloween, with Giants and Monsters. I thought this was a surprise drop, and then I realized I had heard the singles for it. It's just, they came out over such a long period, and there was only 2 of them, that I kind of didn't think of them as singles for an album. They just kind of felt like independent singles, and then an album came out of nowhere. And then I was like, oh cool, new Helloween. I actually had to check. I'm like, wait, does it have the Tokyo song on it? Oh, it does. How about that? I love the artwork on this, because it is that kind of... I don't actually know the name of the artist of this style. I have to figure it out. But it's a really cool style. It makes me think of, like, the new Malevolence album. I wonder if it is the same artist. But with all that, like, cool, like, blurry color and, like, monsters and stuff, they still included their jack-o'-lantern mascot in it. And I really love that. I don't think I've seen any other band use this style, but include their mascot character into it. So that's a nice touch. It also starts really nicely with Giants on the Run. Their keys have this, like, cute little harpsichord flourish 5 seconds in that just perks my eyebrow, because I think I get Helloween and Blind Guardian really confused in my brain. You can see that in my bottom comment. I'll get to that. But when I hear that harpsichord in Helloween, I think Blind Guardian Night at the Opera. I'm like, ooh, alright. That really, like, interests me. And makes me, yeah, crack a little smile. Like, oh, hell yeah. As for the rest of the album, the riff is good. If you listen to power metal for the guitars, and I know a lot of people that do, God, some of my best friends, you know, for me who is so vocally and story focused in music, some of my best friends literally could not care less about that and only listen for good guitar work. And it's so cool that, like, different people get different things out of the same art. So if that's you, and, you know, Luke, I'm talking to you. Direct eye contact. Look at me, babe. I think you'll really like this. For me, though, I found the lyrics and vocals really repetitive and really weak. I feel like every chorus line just gets repeated over and over and over again instead of having, like, a well-structured chorus. Even the song I do like, the This Is Tokyo, which, you know, I'm a weeb, but my honeymoon was literally just 2 weeks in Tokyo. I love that city. So I'm like, hell yeah! But, like, objectively, it doesn't really stand out from the rest of the album in terms of just how the verses and choruses are written. It's just that I care more about the theme of the chorus this time. But, you know, starting the album even on Giants on the Run, and the chorus just being like, we are giants on the run, we are giants on the run, we are giants on the run. I'm like, bro, that is not an interesting chorus. And it's a 6-minute song, and it's the start of your album. An album that goes for 50 minutes at 10 songs. You're losing me. You're losing me, Helloween. once again, I don't think it's particularly bad. I think if you're in for the guitar work, you'll be impressed, maybe even blown away. It gets really good at points. But as for any sense of storytelling or lyrical interest, it is, yeah, a real bummer. And one of the other things that made me think it was a surprise album was, I'm like, didn't these guys just put out an album? But no, once again, I was thinking Blind Guardian, and also that album was 3 years ago, so my brain and my sense of time is absolute garbage. This Helloween album, it's not absolute garbage, but, you know, it probably says a lot that the entire time I was listening to this, I was like, how about that Blind Guardian album? That was pretty cool. So, yeah. It's a yeah, nah. It's okay, but all it really inspires is for me to go listen to other bands. Which, that's my standings for the month. It's a bit of a shorter month. Only, what, 14 albums this month? All albums or EPs? A perfect balance, 50-50 split. We love that. Yeah, look at the yeah, nahs. I would, if you like EDM, I would check out that Moe Shop album. If you like power metal, especially for the guitar work, I'd check out Helloween. Everything else, I'd probably just leave there. And for the yeah, nahs, if you're into punk, please get on Munted Chunts. And if you're into any sort of extreme metal, check out Baest. They're my top picks of the month. But there can only be one album of the month. And it was a toss-up, because a lot of the earlier stuff didn't really stick with me throughout the month. So whatever I pick is going to have a bit of recency bias from being in the later half of the month. And it really came down to Baest or Chunts. And I think it's that, like I said, that second bite factor of Chunts, where the moment I listen to it, I want a second bite of the sandwich. So I'm going to give my album of the month to Munted Chunts, and a beautiful debut as well. Really cool, like, I guess, look at the year so far through this as well. It's been a really cool, eclectic year, a lot of awesome stuff in across all genres. So yeah, congrats to Munted Chunts, album of the month for me. That's my top pick, my top recommendation. Just catch up on chat. We got a bit of love for the Chunts. Love to see a lot of love for the Chunts. And yeah, Stitch Wizardry, you enjoyed Helloween. Yeah, but that's all their albums. Well, yeah. I guess that's the thing. Like, Helloween is probably one of those bands that I realistically enjoy 1 or 2 full albums in, what, a 14 album discography now? It's fair to say, you know, it's probably not a band for me. It's, you know, I would call myself a casual power metal fan. So maybe it's one for the diehards. But thank you so much for watching, for listening, for even considering those. More importantly, in a month with so few albums on my radar, what was on your radar? What did you listen to this month? What did you rate? What did you hate? What did you say? Nah. And did you listen to any of the albums I listened to and think that they're shit? Or did you listen to any of the ones I didn't like and thought they were good and that I'm wrong? I'm open to disagreement. Maybe. But let's switch the playlist over to my stream playlist. Ooh, Killer Be Killed. And get into some Warhammer